what the speaker this morning said about we've just got to let it go in terms of what's happened in the past. One of the speakers I've heard recently is Steve Ballmer with Microsoft, and he said if you thought things happened in the internet era in the past 10 years, if you thought we made advances, we were standing still. And what's going to happen in the next 10 years will absolutely exponentially change our economy, and it will come roaring back, and it will be better than it's ever been. So I think that as an entrepreneur, one of the ways to combat fear is just look for the good news. There is so much out there, and clearly newspapers and the media like to present the stories that sort of intrigue us about the dark side and things that aren't working, but there's lots and lots of good news out there. And whether you're in technology or not, that's going to lift all boats.
I'm going to take it more to a more lower level, not at the big picture level, and more of an everyday level. And how to overcome the fear of what happens in everyday business. When you get a call from the bank that tells you to pay a $250,000 loan that you know that you cannot really pay. And how do you overcome the fear, and how do you try to react and think rationally, concentrate, and try to organize your thoughts and really deal with it without letting them know that you have fear. I think at that point, I will give them a specific example. I had a $250,000 loan, a line of credit at the bank. I had just borrowed it, and 30 days later, I got the letter saying I had to pay it out. And quite frankly, I did not have the money. And what I did at first, I almost panicked. I almost passed out, because it was impossible. But after I settled down and thought about it, I said, there's no reason why they would ask me to pay back. I haven't used it that long. And so I called the bank up and I said, hey, I got this letter. I said, I'm just curious. Why would I need to pay it back? I mean, if you need for me to pay it, I will be more than glad to do it. So I think you lead by not showing you fear at certain points, where showing you fear will actually weaken your position. The bottom line is that they told me that I didn't need to pay my line of credit, and I was able to survive. And I think the same way you have to lead within your company when things are really in a situation where things are not working out very well, but you consider it's a temporary situation that you know that you can manage. I don't think there's a need of letting the rest of the people know. If it's something that you have to let everybody know, you have to give them some kind of assurances that if we work together, we can overcome the situation.
And I think that there's multiple dynamics to fear when you're in business. There's the fear that you have in starting business, and there's the fear that you have as you're going through and things come in. And when you hear the word fearless, we hear it kind of together, but when you break it apart, a fearless person is someone who fears less. And I think as women, one of the things that we can do for ourselves is to really reflect upon what we've learned in the past. And to me, that's the only time when it's healthy to look back at the things that you have overcome, the times that you did make it through something. And that's sometimes what keeps you energized to go forward. The other dynamic about fear is how you deal with fear with your team and your employees. When you're looking to go ahead and you're looking big and you're dreaming big and you have great new opportunities ahead, but your staff or your team or your partners are a little bit nervous, or they haven't fully come into their own gifting. So I think learning to be a great motivator and getting people to have buy-in and have buy-in into your vision of where you're going is one of the ways that you help the people around you overcome fear, because you're only as strong as your team at the end of the day as well. So looking back is a great way to help you look forward sometimes, and then also teaching the people that are around you to look within and think bigger than what they've already experienced.
And for me, fear, being an entrepreneur, has become a big part of my life. So if you're going to have your own business, and I think it's just becomes an ally. A mentor taught me that there's a fine line also between fear and excitement. There's that fine line of when we know we're going to move forward into something and be able to be successful. So when I know I'm afraid, I know that I'm coming up on something that could be really exciting. Really, I'm going to push through and get to what I want. But fear has become my friend. And it's not fun the mornings that you wake up and you're like, okay, if you're making payroll that day or not. I ideally don't like to show my team my fear. I will show them bits of it, certain parts of it, maybe to motivate them a little bit. But I would ideally like to help them. I love it that you said, working with your teams and how do you help them get through their fear. And sometimes they don't want to show me their fear either. So So working with them that they feel comfortable enough to at least tell me what they're afraid of so we can work together.
I like to say that in dealing with fear, that one should, almost like a parent, you know, with a child, try not to show too much fear. Because I don't know what it's like for you. How many of you have had young kids or have young kids? So you all know this particular routine, which is little child falls and scrapes their knee and turns over and looks at you to decide whether or not to cry. And a lot of that's the same with one's employees or any teams that you're dealing
I think we
with.
have to show our fear to somebody at some point, because I think sometimes we're so guarded that we don't have an opportunity to be honest with somebody at some point.
If you're in the role to be the confidence giver, give the confidence. If you're in the role to excite people and stimulate them, show them a little bit of fear. And I think you guys are showing it well. And then I really love the very first part, which is if you look at the horizon and look on the long term, fear isn't really a big deal, you know, because things play out over time.